What's up, warriors? I'm JR with Warrior House DIY. Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, you're going to be learning how to build custom cabinets. We're going to be using a simple plywood and track saw setup. I'm going to go over the whole process for you, from designing your cabinet to creating a cut list, organizing your material list, and ultimately the full build. But that's not all. Stick around to the end of the video and we're going to go through the pros and cons of if it's actually worth it to DIY our own custom cabinets. One thing I've learned over the course of about 20 years of building custom cabinetry is how to make the most efficient use of our time and money. So, is it really worth it to build our own cabinets versus maybe buying one and applying our own finish to it? We're going to get into all of that, but let's get into this first.
The first part of any cabinet project is obviously the design process, but before we get too ahead of ourselves, I want you to know that there's going to be timestamps left down below for each one of these steps. Hey, and while you're down there, feel free to give this video a like and give us a subscribe.
In this case, I'm building kind of a bathroom vanity cabinet and some storage cubbies, and so I typically start off with a rough sketch. It gives me an opportunity to mark out all of my measurements and check those against my field measurements. And then I can put all of my exact measurements in place for each individual piece. Then I draw up a couple sheets of plywood on a sheet of paper and start building my cut list. From there, I'll be able to generate a material list for how much I need. And yes, there is software that makes this process a lot easier. For me, it's easier to just put it together on paper, but to each is their own. Next, we move into the actual fabrication process. When it comes to building cabinetry or anything woodworking related, really there's only two components. It's cutting and fastening. As you can see, when it comes to the cuts, I prefer to use a track saw. It makes for lighter work, in my opinion. I'm becoming my own CNC machine, so to speak, where I'm able to drop that track on the sheet goods and cut out the pieces I need, lift them off to the side, set them aside in organized piles, and move on to the next sheet. pieces are cut, we start the fastening process. We start attaching the pieces together and actually building the cabinet box. Now you may have chosen to do face frames and that would become part of the fabrication process. In this case, I'm doing edge banding, so I'm gonna go ahead and dry fit everything together. The process I use for fastening cabinet boxes together is to attach them in a manner where nothing's gonna be seen unless it's meant to be seen. Let me explain that a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to use a Craig jig or any other pocket hole jig assembly would work to fasten everything I can from the underside or from the back side with pocket hole screws. Now from the sides, in this case, this is a commercial application. A matching cabinet that's already on site has chrome fasteners that I'm going to be matching. So I'm going to dry fit this with construction screws, and then once the finish has been applied, I'm going to reassemble it with those chrome plated furniture fasteners that I was talking about. After the dry fit, I'll disassemble everything, start my edge banding process, and then when I reassemble everything, this is where you would install your face frames if you had chosen to go with a face frame model. When it comes to finishing, you can choose to disassemble everything, finish it all, and then reassemble it. Or it might be easier in certain cases, like this is just a clear coat finish on the interior. There's not much going on the exterior except for the doors. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply that clear coat finish and sand it up in between coats. Now, because we went with frameless, we were doing inset doors. That would be the next step in the process. The doors have been cut, they've been edge banded. Now we've got to drill our hinge cup holes and install the hinges with the included templates or installation guides that came with it. In this case, we're using Blum soft close hinges and also using a Blum brand hinge cup hole driller. I'll leave links down below, as I always do for everything. Next, it's on to installation. This is the fun part where we get to see our work come to life. So we install this project. In this case, we're putting a countertop on here with a sink installed, and there's going to be some plumbing to connect with that. Maybe you're doing that, maybe the plumber's doing that. But we get to have the fun part of making sure that everything is level and everything fits and looks exactly the way that we want to. Then we can stand back and bask in the beauty of the work that we just completed. So when it comes to the pros and cons of building your own cabinets versus buying your own cabinets and maybe say applying a custom finish to them, what I can say about this particular job is that the cabinets that were built and the cubbies that were built needed to be a custom size. So that's one determining factor on whether you should build or buy. Another determining factor for us in this was that the cost of building the cabinets was about the same as buying the cabinets, but we could build them faster than we could get the factory-made ones delivered, and time was a concern of ours. I personally think building is always better than buying, but that's because I do build cabinets. I would say though, if you're in a situation where you're deciding between building versus buying, custom sizing isn't an issue. I like to err on the side of what's going to make it the most personal. If I can get a cabinet made unfinished and I can apply my own finish to it, sometimes I prefer that, especially if it's my own project versus a customer's project. Hey, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our video coming out shortly on DIYing your own cabinet refinishing in your kitchen. It's going to be the same process that applies to finishing cabinets that you just built yourself from scratch. We're going to be using an HVLP sprayer. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of good products that are readily available. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, JR with Warrior House DIY, and it is our mission here to empower you with skills for life. Make sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, share this video with anybody you feel may gain some value from it, and we'll see you in the next video.